The contents of the talk are as follows: introduction to micromachining, then electrochemical microtexturing, electrochemical spark micromachining, rotational magnetorheological finishing, and finally some remarks and conclusions. So I welcome to all of you to this short-term program. This is the old one, no problem. Now, first slide, I always try to show this. To fulfill your ambitious dreams, you as individual have to be honest, sincere, hardworking, and have junoon towards your objective. I'm not going to give the example of different scientists in this area right now, but you can find there are various scientists who had the junoon towards their work and they became world famous. And please note it, there is no substitute for hard work. Now, majority of the material discussed here in my lecture can be found in these following books. I think all of you may be knowing it, or this is the second edition of the book that I have tried to show you. Now, first question is, what is micro machining? Here you can see two words are there, micro plus machining, which simply means removal of material at micro level. Now, this is very important that you can have the macro components, but material removal is at micro nano level, then it comes under micro machining or nano machining. And micro nano components may be there, and the material removal is at micro nano level, then also it comes under the category of micro machining or nano machining. For examples, you have the devices like MEMS, micro electromechanical system, nano electromechanical system names, and so on. You can see this figure over here. This has the 2 millimeter by 2 millimeter screen, which is having so many miniature components, and this is the leg of a housefly. So you can imagine the size of these components, and all of them are real life products. Now you can see the level at which the material must have been removed, and all this is under micro nano machining. Unfortunately, the present day notion of micro machining is machining of highly miniature components with miniature features. Literally, it is not true because there is nothing like a size of the component when we talk of micro machining. So, the correct definition or more correct definition is like this, that material, more correct definition is material removal at micro nano level with no constraint, when there is no constraint on the size of the component. This is very important to note, that there should be no constraint on the size of the component. You can have the micro machining at the macro size component, micro size component, or even nano size component. When we consider, then there you will have the nano machining. Now, then the next question comes, what are the different methods of micro machining? So you can classify them in the two basic categories. One is the traditional micro machining method, and another is the advanced micro machining method. When we talk of traditional micro machining methods, you have micro turning, micro milling, micro drilling, micro grinding, and so on. But these traditional micro machining methods have their own limitations. We will discuss there. Then you have the advanced micro machining methods, which can be classified into three categories: mechanical advanced, thermal advanced micro machining methods, and chemical advanced micro machining methods. And when we talk of mechanical advanced micro machining method, then you have the micro abrasive jet machining, micro ultrasonic machining, micro abrasive water jet machining. Now these are the various micro machining processes which create the features. But there are certain micro machining methods which are used for finishing the surfaces. Here also the material is being removed at micro level or nano level. And that's why they come under the category of micro machining or nano machining. And these processes are abrasive flow machining, AFM, magnetic abrasive finishing, magneto-rheological abrasive flow finishing, MRAF process, magnetic float polishing, MFP, not MPF, MFP. Then you have here mechanical forces are acting to remove the material from the workpiece. That's why it comes under the category of mechanical advanced micro machining methods. Then you have the thermal advanced micro machining method, where material is being removed by melting and or vaporizing the material from the workpiece. You have well-known processes like micro EDM, electric discharge machining, micro electron beam machining (EBM), micro laser beam machining (LBM), micro plasma arc machining (PAM), and so on. There are many other processes also. Then you have the chemical micro machining and electrochemical micro machining method. Electrochemical micro machining, photochemical micro machining, chemical micro machining, and so on. Only few are listed over here. Now, all these individual processes have their constraint, their limitations. Advantages are there, but they have their limitations also. If we want to overcome those limitations, then what the researchers have done, researchers have combined or they have married two or more than two processes together, and both of them may be from traditional or from advanced, or one from traditional micro machining method, another for advanced micro machining method, and you have a process called as hybrid micro machining methods, and where you have electrochemical spark micro machining. We are going to discuss it in detail. Electrochemical grinding, electric discharge micro grinding, electrolytic in-process dressing, and so on. Now the question is, we are concentrating first on electrochemical micro machining, and then we will discuss electrochemical spark micro machining, that is ECMM and ECSMM process. Now, what is the principle of ECMM process? There is a tool as the cathode, which is connected to the negative terminal of the supply. You have the workpiece, which is the anode, connected to the positive terminal of the supply. The supply may be 5 to 20 volts DC in this particular figure. And here you have the electrolyte. Electrolytes are of different type: acidic electrolyte, neutral electrolyte, basic electrolyte, and so on. It is flowing at a high velocity, just like as you can see here, 20 to 30 meter per second. And what happens due to the electrolysis, as you know already, that hydrogen bubbles are produced and they get collected at the tool, and oxygen is generated and that gets collected on that deposited on the anode surface. And then you have the residues, that is metal dissolution from workpiece, and ferrous hydroxide or ferric hydroxide in case the workpiece is iron. Now what happens here, note it carefully, because of that material is being removed from the workpiece, that is the anode, as a ferrous hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, depending upon the condition. And you get the shape of the workpiece, just inverse replica of the tool over here. And this is the principle of electrochemical machining as well as electrochemical micro machining. Now note here carefully, oxygen is generated on the workpiece and hydrogen is generated at the tool. Now at cathode, you know, plating hydrogen gas evolution, as shown here by electrolysis reactions are there. Ferrous oxide, ferrous is there, and at anode you have the evolution of the gas, oxygen gas, and that is shown over here. That is the oxygen over here. Now we are trying to utilize this characteristic of evolution of hydrogen at the anode and evolution of hydrogen at the cathode, and evolution of oxygen at the anode. Now you can see over here, this is the principle of electrochemical spark micromachining. Here is the cathode, here is the anode. Now, one thing I would like to mention here, that this ECM process, the workpiece has to be electrically conducting. Just like in EDM process also, workpiece has to be electrically conducting. Now the question arises, what do you do for electrically non-conductive materials? So if you see here in this figure, anode is electrically conducting, cathode is electrically conducting. What the workpiece shown over here is electrically non-conductive. Now what we are doing here, we are utilizing the characteristic of evolution of oxygen, hydrogen over here at the tool. This hydrogen is evolved over here at the tool tip, very fine tool tip is there. And when this hydrogen bubble is there, then across the bubble, hydrogen will be electrically non-conductive. When the breakdown voltage reaches across the bubble, then it breaks and sparking takes place. And since the tip of the tool and the workpiece, the gap is very, very small, few tenths of microns. So whatever heat is generated over here due to sparking, part of that heat goes to the workpiece, part of it goes to the electrolyte, and it is conducted and convected, and some part is lost due to the radiation. So this gap may be few tenths of microns, as I have shown here, around 50 microns. So what we can do, by utilizing this particular heat, we can remove the material from the workpiece. So now you can see clearly that electrically non-conductive material can be machined with the help of electrochemical spark micromachining process, because sparking is taking place, and basic setup is for electrochemical micromachining. Electrolyte is there, anode is there, cathode is there, and we are using it for removing material from electrically non-conducting workpieces. So in fact, this process, as I will show you in the next slide or so, that it is a combination of ECM plus EDM, because discharge or sparking is taking place. Please note it carefully that this process I always call electrochemical spark micromachining, but there are many authors or researchers who like to call it as electrochemical discharge micromachining. Doesn't matter, principle remains the same. I am calling it because it is the spark which is useful for the machining purposes, not really the discharge, maybe arcing, maybe something non-productive. That's why I prefer to call it a electrochemical spark micromachining rather than the electrochemical discharge micromachining. Just for information, I can tell you, initially when this EDM process was developed by the Lazarenko brothers, they called it as electro spark machining process. But later on, researchers started calling it as electro discharge process. Anyway, now so principle of electrochemical spark micromachining process, spark takes place across the electrode electrolyte interface, that is over here, or hydrogen gas bubble at the smaller electrode, because this is much smaller compared to the anode. And this word smaller electrode is very important. We will see it later on. Now what we are doing in the next section is we are utilizing this electrochemical micromachining for microtraction. Now if you see here, this lotus, we all know that water doesn't remain or doesn't get adhered to the leaves of the lotus. Why? It is due to the fact that this lotus has got hydrophobic surface. So you can see here the characteristic of this lotus surface. It has the pillars over here. Over the pillar, you can see clearly there are some, these pillars are normally of micron size, but these hairs are of nano size. If you see schematic diagram, it is like this. This is the leaf where you have the micropillar, and over the micropillars you have the nano hair. I hope you can clearly see that. Now what we have done, we have tried to generate this characteristic of the surface on the metallic surfaces at IIT Kanpur. So I am going to give the results of that experimental results. I am going to produce here to show you how this hydrophobic surface has been created on the metallic surfaces. So you can see here another example of esculenta, similar kind. These are the micropillars over here, and over this you have the nano hairs over there. And same characteristic as the lotus leaf, and you can see the contact angle changes substantially. I will show you later on. So this is the kind of the schematic diagram. What is happening over here, that in this particular case you can see clearly that there is no water inside the or within the two peaks. Hydrophobic surfaces applications. Antimicrobial surgical tools require hydrophobic surfaces. Hydrophobic blood circulation pump required. Ice phobic wings and engines of aircraft. They are very useful for reducing the total load of the aeroplane and improving the performance of the aeroplane, especially in the icy areas. So hydrophobic fabric is being generated. You may have your shirts and pants of hydrophobic fabric, then you will not get wet even under the rain. You can see here circuits. These electronic circuits are very sensitive to the water droplets or water, and it is very important to safeguard them. If you can create outer surface as the hydrophobic surface, then you can save these electronic circuits, ICs, very easily from water, etc. Now this is another very important example, interesting example. A person goes with shoe, one is having the hydrophobic fabric, another is normal fabric, and when it goes in the dust or the mud, you can see this leg, this shoe has no mud over here, even though this has gone into the mud. But this shoe, which is not having the hydrophobic surface, it was also put in the mud, and you can see a lot of the mud had got adhered on this shoe. So these are the some important, interesting applications of hydrophobic surfaces. Same way about the ship hull over here. This is the hydrophobic surface. You can clearly see this is non-hydrophobic surface, and you can see the status of this surface, which is having lot of problems, bioorganisms, etc. over here, while it is quite clean. So definitely its life is going to be much lower than this hydrophobic surface will. And you can see here, this is how the drops are remaining over there without adhering, and they are repelling kind of the thing. Now, micro nanotexturing using electrochemical micromachining, as I have already mentioned, this work, whatever I have presented and I am going to present, is taken, part of it is taken from the work of Dr. Divyansh Patel as a PhD scholar. Electrochemical microtexturing using atom. Now, I am going to present his PhD thesis work in three different parts. Electrochemical microtexturing using atomized electrolyte, electrochemical microtexturing using sinusoidal and triangle or triangular pulsed voltage, and then microtexturing using flexible electrode. So these three parts, in very brief, I am going to discuss, and that they have been taken from the PhD thesis of Dr. Divyansh Patel. Electrochemical microtexturing using atomized electrolyte. Now, concept of atomized electrolyte flushing, possible cases of droplet surface. You can clearly see when droplets are there, they can have different status. They can transverse like this, they can rebound like this and go out, or they can spread like this, like a very fine layer over here, and they can splash like this. So we are interested in this particular status of the electrolyte jet or jet atomized electrolyte flushing or atomized electrolyte jet like this. Now, normal condition, that is conventional electrolyte dissolution taking place over here, it is a electrochemical machining status. Tool is there, workpiece is there, electrolyte jet is there, and this layer can be as good as 500 to 2000 micrometer, that is 2 millimeter, and this is very thick layer. So you can see the current density distribution. So here is the highest current density, and this is slightly dropping. But if you take this case, atomized electrolytic dissolution or atomized electrolyte supply, then you can see here this layer, it is just a 30 to 100 micrometer thickness, while it is 500 to 2000 micrometer thickness. Now here current density concentration is also there at the center. Compared to this, it is more centralized over here. So higher current density can be seen over here compared to the conventional flow. So this characteristic has been utilized to improve the quality of the micro textures or micro features that are being created. Instead of conventional one, atomized electrolyte flushing is utilized. Electrochemical microtexturing using atomized electrolyte, comparison of dimple profile between jet and atomized electrolyte flushing. Now you can clearly see here jet electrolyte flow of ECM for ECMM. This is the SEM image. These are the experimental results from Dr. Divyansh's work. You can see here this area. Here also this area. So this is the unmachined region, which is really speaking unwanted. It should not be there. But if we are using atomized electrolyte spray, electrochemical micromachining, you can clearly see this part is much better than this, and there is hardly any unmachined area over there. And this is the 3D picture of the same. Now this peak is not there, projection is not there in this particular case, and there is no unmachined region over there. So what we can conclude is that atomized electrolyte flushing gives better quality of the machine features. Main problem in ECMM is the overcut. So what he has suggested is that if we can use or we can do micro texturing using square, sinusoidal and triangular pulsed voltage, and let us see which gives the better results as long as quality is concerned. So you can see here, this is the square pulses, sinusoidal pulses, truncated one, and this is a triangular pulses. Now if you see, some theoretical analysis of pulse energy has been done, which I am not going to discuss here, and this is the setup with the conditions that have been used for finite element analysis. While doing finite element analysis, these are the boundary conditions which are shown over here, and this is the result, theoretical result that has been achieved. This shows the tool over there, and this shows the cavity that has been created with these conditions. And this is the experimental setup or experimental facility, schematic diagram of the same developed at IIT Kanpur. Now here are some results. You can see here, this is the bottom face of these micro holes that were created over there, and this is the simulation, theoretical and experimental result simulation. Reasonably good matching is there, and this is the 3D profile of this one of these holes, and you can see that problem is not there in this particular case of unmachined area. Now you can see here, these are the experimental results blue color, and these are the simulated results. In all the three cases, some deviation is there. So it clearly indicates that we have to look into the model that has been used by Dr. Divyansh Patel and look into their assumptions. If we can relax some of the assumptions, then you will have a better meshing over here compared to what you have at present. So it needs lot of further work to be done in finite element analysis of micro texturing using sinusoidal, square and triangular pulsed voltage supply. This paper has been published in the International Journal of Machine Tool and Manufacture. Now you can see some more results over here. Square bulb. This is the sinusoidal pulses over there. Now you can see this area, and here also there is some area in case of sinusoidal pulses. This is fine, quite fine over here. This is what is shown over here. These are the experimental results, and this is the 3D picture of the same, and this is the simulation with theoretical results, finite element analysis over here also. And in case of triangular one, you see this is slightly better than these two. This unmachined area kind of the things is much lesser compared to these two. So what we can conclude from here, and matching here also between experimental and theoretical results is better than these two. So what we can conclude, that triangular pulses can be useful and they can be implemented for micro texturing and micro machining. They are likely to give more accurate results than sinusoidal and square voltage pulses. Microtexturing of free form surfaces using flexible electrode. Now I am sure all of you understand what is the free form surfaces. Free form surfaces cannot be easily expressed in terms of mathematical analysis or mathematical equations, and machining and texturing on free form surfaces theoretically as well as experimentally is really very difficult. So what we have done here is that microtextures on artificial biomedical implants enhance sustainability and life cycle by better implant tissue interface, cell addition, and cell proliferation. Now, in United States, this is the old data. Approximately 600,000 total knee replacement surgeries are performed every year, and it is challenge to improve the performance of the knee joint and hip joint implants by reducing their wear and increasing the life by employing microtextures on the sliding surfaces. Now you can see here, this is the sliding surface over here, this is the sliding surface over here, and this is the microtextures that has been created on this bottom face of this sliding surface, so that which is in contact with the cartilage. Now this was done by Chu et al, and they have found, published in Tribology International, and they have found the better performance and better life of the knee joint compared to without these microtextures. This is the hip joint, you can see clearly here. This is the hip joint which has the microtexture on the femoral head, and this gives better performance compared to without these microtexture. And this was published by Chu et al in where. So what I am trying to show here is that microtexturing has a lot of applications in biomedical sciences. Micropillar array machined through atomized electrolyte and triangular voltage. Now these are the micropillars that have been produced with the help of atomized electrolyte and using triangular voltage pulse. Now you can see here, this is the 3D pictures of this, and this is the, you can see this is the you can see roughness, and this is the simulation kind of the things. This is the another one, diamond micropillars array on stainless steel, and this is the curved micropillars array. This is very difficult and it has been produced over there on the curved surfaces. And you can see that contact angle is also quite good, not very good, but quite good, around 100.7 degree. So what I am trying to show here, you can produce different types of the micro textures on the definitely electrically conducting materials. Now, hydrophobic surfaces we have already seen. You can see over here, this is being created now that curved micro channels are there, which are created by electrochemical micro texturing. And then we have the rectangular micropillars, which we have already seen. The angles are different over here. This can go shark skin pattern is created with the help of micro texturing, and the angle can go, contact angle can go 122 degree. Now you can see the 3D pictures of this over here. 3D picture of this particular pillars, square pillar, and then 3D pictures of the sharp skin pattern over here that has been created. So you can clearly see different kind of the patterns and different kind of the textures you can create on flat surfaces as well as curved surfaces. Now, when we are talking of free-form surfaces, you need to use flexible electrode because free-form surfaces you don't know whether it is cylindrical or whatever it is. You cannot explain it mathematically also, and it keeps changing point to point. So, what we have done over there, we have tried to use flexible electrode. That means the electrode or the cathode which adapts itself according to the changes in the curvature of the workpiece. And that is what we have done it here. Micro testing of free form metallic surfaces has been done. Conceptualization is like this, that you have the workpiece over here, gap over here. This is the flexible electrode, and this is the sponge over there. So, and here is the tank. This can be kept over here, and then electrolyte is there. So this is the large view of the this one flexible electrode. Now you can see here simulation of current density for piece selection and textures, etc. This is being done. Again simulation. Now the question is, when we talk of masks, masking is to be done over there. How to produce? So mask fabrication through excimer laser has been done at IIT Kanpur, and other people are also using the similar technique over there. So this is the primary mask, and this is the lens, and this is the light coming over there for creating the mask. So you can see over here, this is the, now important thing is I will show you in the next slide the bigger picture. Half sphere convex surface over there, your texturing has been done. Knee joint surface is there, this is the knee joint, and this is the texturing over here, and this is the cylindrical outer surface is here, and this is the kind of the texture. So we are able to do the texturing or micro texturing rather on free form surfaces because knee joint is having the free form surface, this is the cylindrical surface, and this is the spherical. Now you can see the whatever I had shown you in the earlier slide. This is the bigger picture of the same micro dimples array machining on cylindrical surface. This is the cylindrical surface. If you take this one bigger view, it lies this, and if you take the 3D view, then it is like this. And this is the square micro dimples over here, and this is the zigzag pattern. You can clearly see this pattern over here. These are the square dimples are there, and then micro dimples of approximately 130 micrometer diameter is there, and this is the spherical surface over there, and this is the flexible electrode. You can clearly see here knee joint, flexible electrode over there in the vertical state, knee joint again. This knee joint was purchased from the market, and some of these knee joints we obtained from the BARC, Bhava Atomic Research Center under uh, project, which was sponsored to IIT Kanpur. And here you can see the micro texturing on this particular surface that was created on the knee joint. Similar kind of the component is there, and you can clearly see the large view. And this is a 3D view of the square micro dimples of around 100 micrometer. So you can clearly see different shapes and sizes of the micro textures or micro features can be created on different kind of the free form surfaces, flat surfaces, cylindrical surfaces, spherical or hemispherical surfaces. Now this work was done recently by Mr. Vyom Sharma, PhD scholar at IIT Kanpur. It clearly shows how you can create the micropillar. What you have to do, you have the workpiece, you move the wire like this, and create first this micro channel, and then rotate it by 90 degree, and then take the wire again, and then create the channels. So you will have the micropillars like this, square micropillar created over there. You can see here, these are the first after this, and this is after micropillars have been formed. You can see in a better way, these are the squares, these are another shape of the rectangular pillars that have been formed. This is 304 stainless steel. Same thing again shown over here. Now, electrochemical micromachining has also been used for making the micromixer. Now you can clearly see this is the uh, requirement micromixer fabricated at the Kanpur. Now you can see here all dimensions of these channels. They are in microns, and this is the entry point, and this is the entry point. One liquid is coming from here, another liquid is coming from here, going into this mixing chamber, and after mixing it is coming out, and from here it is taken out. So these micro mixers were produced by one of the MTech student at IIT Kanpur. I don't remember the name right now. So you can see here clearly, this is the black ink coming over here, water is coming from here, and both of them are mixing in this mixing chamber, and you can clearly see one single color mixed fluid is here. So this is the mixture, micro mixture, which was produced by our MTech student. Now, after this introduction to the micro texturing, the question is, what are the future areas of research in electrochemical microtexturing which you can make use of? Enhancing tribological and biological properties of biomedical implants by microtexturing can be. I will show you different biomedical implants when discussing the nano finishing. Post processing of 3D printed metal by implant, because 3D printed materials are having quite rough surface. So post processing for finishing is always required, and that finishing can be done either by plasma, electrochemical polishing, or other processes I will show you. Then you can use triangular pulse voltage electrochemical dissolution and study how it is affecting the accuracy of the component, cost of the component, and productivity of the component. Then there is sustainable electrochemical micromachining. Sustainability study is very, very important. I am not going to discuss in this lecture, but this is the most critical issue of any micro nano manufacturing process. So here, these electrochemical micromachining is much more sustainable compared to other processes which are being used by different industries. Hierarchical microtesting for tribological properties, enhancements of tribological properties, then plasma electrochemical polishing of 3D parts. Yeah. Now, another part is taken from the PhD thesis work of Dr. Anjali Kulkarni, who is Principal Research Engineer, Center for Mechatronics at IIT Kanpur. Now, as I have already explained to you, the working principle of electrochemical spark machining and electrochemical spark micro machining process, and it is the advanced hybrid process because it is combining ECM plus EDM both. That's why it is hybrid process. Now, ECM and EDM are used for machining only electrically conductive material. This is very important to know. But ECSM and ECSMM are used for machining of electrically non-conductive material as well as electrically conductive material. Very less emphasis has been given for utilizing ECSM and ECSMM for electrically conductive material. But it has been used and different features have been created on electrically conducting materials also. Now, machining is a subtractive process, so it can be done on conducting, non-conducting, electrically non-conducting, semiconductors, etc. And it can be used in the range of meso, micro, or even in some cases nano degree. Now, this is very important feature of electrochemical spark micromachining that it has been used for deposition purposes also, just like 3D printing. So selective deposition can be done for micro welding and rapid prototyping of metallic parts. And finally, you can work in this electrochemical spark micro deposition and electrochemical spark surface modification at different levels. Hardly any work has been done in these two areas, and very less work has been done in the application of ECSM process for electrically conducting material. So there are various areas in which further research work can be done. So material removal mechanism, I have already explained that how this material removal takes place, that cathode is there, workpiece is there, electrically non-conducting, somewhere you have the anode over there, and this is the heated region is there. Now this is something like this. You have the evolution of hydrogen bubbles and gas bubbles over there, and you have the virtual off and on, and we are utilizing this particular characteristic, that bombardment of energetic electrons on the workpiece is there because from the cathode, and this is the hydrogen bubble is there, sparking takes place, and you have the anode over there, and you have the workpiece very close to this cathode, so that whatever heat is generated, it goes to the part of it goes to the workpiece. Now, the same thing I have tried to show over here. You can clearly see here that cathode size is much smaller than the anode size, and here the hydrogen bubbles are generated across which hydrogen bubble the sparking is taking place. This is the workpiece which is electrically non-conducting, and at the anode, oxygen gas bubbles are generated. So this is the experimental setup that was developed at IIT Kanpur by Ms. Priyadarshini and Anjali Kulkarni. Priyadarshini did his MTech thesis over here, and you can see the picture of the sparking taking place in this particular. This is the picture of this particular setup over there. This is the sparking taking place between the cathode, and here is the electrically non-conducting workpiece. Now, you can use this electrochemical spark micromachining with direct polarity, and material is removed from cathode by melting and vaporization due to heat generated by sparking, because sparking is taking place at the interface of the tool and electrolyte. So part of the heat generated is going to the workpiece, part of it is going to the tool, and part of it is convected to the electrolyte. So you have negligible tool wear, and material is deposited on the cathode, because part of the material is deposited on the cathode, and that's why the tool wear looks to be smaller than real one. In the reverse polarity, material is removed from anode by melting and vaporization due to heat generated by sparking, because here you are utilizing oxygen at the anode for creating the sparking by taking very small size of the anode compared to the cathode. And you have a high rate of tool wear. Material is removed from anode by electrochemical reaction also. ECSMM process performance evaluation. Now, lot of work has been done by Anjali Kulkarni and others at IIT Kanpur. I will just give you a brief what they have done. They have used, for micro fabrication, they have used direct current, half wave rectified current, alternating current, and pulsed voltage current. And when talking of direct current, they have done micro holes on different materials like copper, molybdenum, etc. They have conducted the parametric study and they have created micro holes in different types of the workpieces, and some inferences have been made. Same way, they have developed the micro channels in different materials, different parametric study has been conducted, and then they have studied responses in terms of width, depth, etc. Then they have used half wave rectified. Similar kind of study has been conducted with half wave, alternating current, and pulsed current. And they have produced very interesting results. And they have made the conclusion which type of pulsed voltage you should use for accurate and economic production. Some special characters of ECSMM. Please note it very carefully. This very important slide. My question to all of you is, does the sparking take place only at cathode in electrochemical spark micromachine? My answer is no. It may take place at either electrode, means anode or cathode, and material can be removed from either electrode. Under certain circumstances, all of them are given in the papers published by Anjali Kulkarni. You can clearly see here, in this particular case, sparking is taking place at the cathode, but no sparking is taking place at the anode. This is the anode, this is the cathode, sparking is here, no sparking is there. Sparking at cathode is stopped, and here sparking is taking place at the anode. Not very good picture is there, but sparking is taking place at the anode, and there is no sparking at the cathode. So what I am trying to show here is that you can have the sparking either at anode or cathode depending upon what conditions you have in the micro machining chamber. So you can shift the sparking zone between electrode, that is the sparking at cathode and sparking at anode, as shown over here clearly with the help of the photographic views. Then the material removal in ECSMM is through melting and vaporization only. I have tried to show you and emphasize that in ECSMM, material removal is basically through melting and vaporization, just like EDM and EDMM. But here I am saying my answer is no, with the proofs. If you see here, this has been a channel or the channel machined with the help of electrochemical spark micromachining, and you can see here the part. This is the, it can be fractured part having around few micrometers height, and it has been fractured because during electrochemical spark machining or micro machining, shock wave is generated, and because of those shock wave, this part has been fractured. So what I am trying to emphasize here is that it is not melting and vaporization only the mechanism of material removal. Under certain circumstances, some part of the material may be removed by mechanical means also, just like the one shown over here or this one shown over there. This was work done by Deepshika Priyadarshini, and she has published it, and this is from her MTech thesis. Then lately, when Dr. As long as modeling of this electrochemical spark micromachining is done, a new valve theory was proposed by Dr. Pulak Mohan Pandey, who is professor at IIT Delhi, and at present he is at BIET Jhansi as the director. So I am not going to discuss this modeling, finite element modeling of electrochemical spark machining by Pulak Mohan Pandey. You can see his papers published already there. So what I am trying to show here is that electrochemical spark machining with reverse polarity, as well as you can use the direct polarity. And if I have already shown you this particular picture, that here oxygen bubbles are there, here hydrogen bubbles are there, depending upon the size of the anode or cathode you are using, you can generate a spark on either the cathode or on the anode. Now, microchannel on soda lime glass that was created by Anjali Kulkarni, and you can see it is a kind of infinity letter, and all these channels, they are couple of hundred micron size. You can see clearly over here, and the inner diameter of this is 1558 micron and outer diameter is 2453 micron, but width is 445 micron and in some cases 405 micron. What I am trying to tell that it is quite good to use it on soda lime glass and to create micro features over there. Now, this is the kind of the surface that has been machined over here. This is the enlarged view. Please see it very carefully. This is the enlarged view of this channel that has been created. Now, if you further enlarge this, you can see that these are the kind of the micro cracks that have been generated. And all this is due to the non-using of non-optimized machining parameters. So what it indicates really is that unless you optimize the machining parameter, you will not get a good micro feature or micro texture on the machine component. So it is very important to do the optimization of parameter before really applying it to the actual production processes. Now, how to measure all these things? Because these are all micro features. So the question arises how to measure or how to assess the different features of the micro textures or micro features. So what we have done at IIT Kanpur, we have tried to use the replica using polymeric material. First replica is, first the fabricated workpiece is cleaned with acetone. The procedure is making like this. Then PDMS and hardener are mixed in the ratio of 10:1. The solution is poured on the predefined area of the workpiece surface placed in a plastic box. Wherever you have done the micro machining or micro testing, there this solution is poured, and then curing is performed by heating in the oven at about 85 degrees centigrade for 45 minutes or so, and then solidified PDMS here is carefully removed from the workpiece surface. This will give the negative replica of the machine surface with very fine features imprinted on the replica. So you can see here, this is the micro channel that was produced over here, and this is the replica of this micro channel produced on the PDMS. And if you enlarge this replica, you will see this clearly shows variation in the depth of the replica, sorry, depth of the channel that has been created. You can also measure the width at different points, height at different points, and total length. So you can have a very clear picture of micro feature that has been created by using this replica process. This is you can call as metrology technique used to measure the depth and surface feature, micro features rather. Now magnification is different in all these figures, so don't get confused. Now, this is the replica of micro machine surfaces, replica of a complex shaped micro channel. If you enlarge this, you will find that the surface is something like this. Now, why I am showing it here, that such kind of the surface of the micro features or micro texture may not be acceptable. So you have to again optimize the parameters for micro texturing as well as micro machining so that you don't get this kind of fractal nature of the machine surface. Now this is the replica of another features created over there. So what are the inferences that you get from here? By using replica modeling technique, integrated shapes become easy to visualize from the replica than the actual part in case of cavity or channel, as you can see here, and also as we have seen in the earlier slide. Surface modifications and surface topography are easily seen and can be analyzed qualitatively as well as quantitatively, as we have seen in the earlier slide as well as over here. The technique can be standardized, and after resolving the calibration issue, because this has to be calibrated, it can be used as a practical approach to the surface metrology, because you take the picture at what magnification you are taking the picture and you recalculate it, the actual size of these textures. Now, third part I have taken from the PhD thesis of Dr. Manas Das, who is associate professor at IIT Guwahati. Normally, micro machine, micro textures, and micro additive manufactured parts, they need post processing, because in all these cases, as we have seen in the earlier slides, that they have very rough surfaces, irregular surfaces. So we need post processing so that they get the correct kind of surface texture, sizes, and accuracy. And for that, you need what is known as micro nano finishing. Now, there are various processes which I am not going to discuss today for nano finishing, and I am going to just discuss the one that is named as rotational magnetorheological abrasive flow finishing is one of the solutions for post processing of these components. Micro nano finishing, post processing after fabrication using machining, 3D additive manufacturing, forming, casting, welding. After doing all these operations, you require post processing to enhance the surface characteristics and surface integrity. And also in some cases, you need the heat treatment of the component, fabricated component. Magnetorheological abrasive flow finishing process. Now what we already knew, magnetorheological finishing and abrasive flow machining. But both these processes had their constraints. And as a result of that, Dr. Sunil Jha developed a process at IIT Kanpur, that is magnetorheological abrasive flow finishing process. And this was the schematic diagram of the setup that was developed over there. And you can see here is the top cylinder, MRPF cylinder. Here you have the workpiece over there, bottom cylinder, and then top hydraulic cylinder over there. And this is the hydraulic unit. And then if you see here, this is the North Pole and South Pole. We are using North Pole and South Pole in case of MRF process, and viscous medium you are using abrasive flow machining. So this is the viscous medium which is having CIP or iron particles over there, and abrasive particles are there. And this medium is moving up and down like this. Now when these abrasive particles come in contact with this workpiece surface over here, then micro nano irregularities are sheared off and you get a very good surface finish. And that good surface finish can be anywhere in couple of nanometers that you can achieve with the help of this magnetorheological abrasive flow finishing process. But There are certain constraints of this particular process also. I will show you in the following slides. Now here is the schematic diagram, again the same one, and these are the different. This is the kind of the magnets arrangement we have used. I will show you. This is the one. You have the south pole like this and north pole. You can have different kind of arrangements. I will show you in the following slides. Now here are the, this particular part has these different parts. Here are the magnets over there. This is the workpiece inside this one, and other gears etc. are there, and you are rotating the magnet. Limitations of MRAP process. It is difficult to provide uniform magnetic field in the finishing zone due to fixed coils at two diametrically opposite sides. Because when you have the fixed coils or the fixed magnetic field, you will have the concentration of the magnetic field against these magnets. It will not give you the uniform magnet across the workpiece. And as a result of this non-uniform magnetic field, you get non-uniform finishing of the cylindrical workpieces at different points across the diameter. And the finishing rate is also low. So what we did, that Manas has developed what is known as rotate the workpiece with respect to a magnetic field, fixed magnetic field, so that all points of the workpiece come serially under the same magnetic field, or rotate the magnetic field with the help of permanent magnet or electromagnet. So you can adopt either of the two ways, either rotate the workpiece or rotate the magnet, so that you can get the finishing with the help of the proper magnetic field. And that is known as rotational magnetorheological abrasive flow finishing process. Photographic view of the MRAP setup. That setup was developed at IIT Kanpur. Initially, it was developed by Sunil Jha and then R.K. Jain and Manas Das and many others. Now, modeling of the chain structure, theoretical and finite element modeling was done. Now, you can clearly see here, when there is no magnetic field, iron particles, and this is the abrasive particles, we have deliberately taken larger size of abrasive particles so that we get the correct picture and we get the differentiation between iron particle and abrasive particle. This is the abrasive particle and this is the iron particle. Now when you apply the magnetic field, you can clearly see the chains are formed. Magnets, this CIP part, carbonyl iron particles or iron particles, they arrange in the form of the chains like this. And these abrasive particles, they are staying either between the chains or within the chains, depending upon the size of the abrasive particles. So this is the figure that was used for modeling purposes. You can see this is the abrasive particle, these are the iron particles. When you are moving it up and down, then finishing of this particular workpiece is done. And this is the fixture for holding the workpiece. And this is the kind of the arrangement we use while modeling this particular process. We assume the unit VCC microstructure of abrasive and CIPs, as you can see over here also. Now, this is what I was telling you in the earlier slides, that you can have different configurations of the magnets. You can have north pole opposite to each other, south pole opposite to each other, or you can have north pole and south pole opposite to each other, and south and north pole opposite to each other, or you can have just two magnets, south pole and north. Now, if you analyze these three, this and this, they are not giving the uniform magnetic field, which is shown here by the carbonyl iron particles collection over. But if you see this is comparatively more uniform magnetic field over here. That's why we adopted this particular configuration in our work. And this is the analysis that we had done, magnetic field intensity along this particular x radius, this and distribution of magnetic field with this strength for different configuration of the magnet. Now I will give you some results. Surface texture of the workpiece under scanning electron microscope. Stainless steel. This is the ground surface, and you can clearly see the roughness on the ground surface over there. Then after MREF, this is the kind of the texture, surface texture we are obtaining. Now you can clearly see these are the marks of the abrasive particle left over there. But when you rotate this magnetorheological abrasive flow finishing, after RMREF, this is changing to this surface and it is much better than this one. So you can clearly see that these peaks, valleys are being removed by shearing these peaks and better surface is obtained. Cross edge pattern is obtained over here. Same way on the brass, this is the ground surface. This is after MREF process, and this is after RMREF process, and cross hatching is obtained over here. Here you don't have the cross hatching. So this indicates that you are rotating the abrasive particles under certain circumstances. You have the comparison of surface characteristics of MREF and RMREF. Now then you have the surface texture of workpiece under atomic force microscope. Now 3D pictures are given there in case of stainless steel. This is the initial ground surface over there. You can see the peaks and valleys over here. This is after MREF. Again, there are some problems over here in MREF process, and these are the scratches shown over here because these are the path followed by the abrasive particles in MREF process. But in RMREF process, this path has considerably changed, and you have the cross hatch pattern kind of the thing, and this is at 20 rpm and this is at 67 rpm. So what it indicates really is that depending upon the workpiece material, abrasive particle characteristics, you have to optimize the parameter so that you get the desired surface characteristics and surface finish. Same way you can see for the brush, ground surface, this is the MREF, this is RMREF at 20 rpm, and this is RMREF at 73 rpm. So you can clearly see here, it was in this case 0.26, 0.2, 0.14 and 0.11 finally. Same way here, 0.24, 0.15, 0.09 and 0.05. In case of brass, you have as good as 0.05 surface finish. Now, here if you see initial ground surface, this is IIT Kanpur, there is no reflection in both of them. But after RMREF process, you can clearly see the IIT Kanpur visible over these workpieces. This is the stainless steel and this is the brass. So you can clearly see the improvement in the surface of stainless steel, initial 0.260 and final 0.110. These are the 2D. This is for brass and this is for stainless steel. Now you can see here knee joint implants. Why femoral nano finishing is required? Because if you see here, this femoral is in contact and it is having the relative motion with the other parts. This is the part which requires the nano finish because it is in contact with this particular part. So it's, to enhance its life and performance, you need the nano finishing on this particular part. So these are the parts which are being shown over here, different parts which are finished over there. Now we have done some work of nano finishing of knee joint implants at IIT Kanpur. This is the knee joint, and this setup was developed at IIT Kanpur by Dr. Ajay Sidpara, who is working at IIT Kharagpur. And you can see here, this is the initial one, and this is the brush which is being formed by MRF or magnetorheological finishing process. Is the kind of the brush that has been formed over here. Now you can see that brush which is being formed over there is finishing this particular part of the knee joint. This is the setup that was developed on the CNC milling machine. So photograph of MR finishing for free-form surfaces, because knee joints have the free-form surfaces, and close view of MR polishing fluid that is shown over here, and CNC, and this is the third actual one really performing different operation. Now there are various other implants in the human body, as you can see over here, which may require nano finishing. So depending upon the requirement, you must suggest to the doctors or the surgeons or the industries, related industries, to do the nano finishing so that their life enhances and performance becomes better. All these joints have friction, and wherever there is a friction, if you have the better surface finish, friction will be low and the forces acting or the pain being felt by the patient will be reduced. So if reduced friction will definitely lead to comfort to the patient, longer implant life, and it minimizes the need for the next replacement. But this is another very big problem, the replacement. In this case, nano finishing comes to rescue. In case of 3D printing, manufacturing can be employed for matching the parts with individual patients' anatomy. This is very important, and 3D printing manufacturing is easily adaptable for minor changes in the size and shape of part patient's anatomy. Now you can have the finishing of these kind of the implants as shown, or I have shown to you already this particular implant. Now these are the other ones. Again, this is the heart valve. This is before, this is after. So what I am trying to emphasize here is there are so many implants, human implant, which may require nano finishing to enhance the performance and the life of those implants. So you can go for that. Now there is another process which was developed at IIT Kanpur by Prabhat Ranjan, who is working at Bhava Atomic Research Center. That is a very interesting and having very high potential. That process was named as chemomechanical magnetorheological finishing process. Here again, CMP and MRF processes, they are combined together, and this is the hybrid process. Now you can see this is the initial surface before uh, finishing, and this is the surface after finishing, and you can see the reflection of IITK and BARC, which was done under the project of BARC at IIT Kanpur. Now again reflection. Now why I am trying to show it here is that by this process we are able to achieve 0.465 nanometer, that is approximately 0.5 nanometer, that is 5 angstrom as a surface roughness value on the silicon substrate. So this is very interesting that you can achieve as good as few angstrom surface finish, less than 1 nanometer surface finish on the silicon substrate and other substances. You have to check it. So you can really get wonderful surface after nano finishing. And this enhances definitely the performance in the life of the different products. You can have different areas of, uh, you know, research work. The effect of temperature on rheological properties can be studied, because the whole performance of this MRF or MREF or MREF processes depends upon the temperature variation of the medium. And this, if temperature is varying beyond a certain value, then all characteristics of the finished component will change. The use of electromagnet by energizing different poles alternatively instead of permanent magnet can be used in MREF as well as RMREF and MRF processes. One can try. You try it and find out how they are performing. RMREF process can be tried to polish complex geometrical shapes through suitable design of fixture and electromagnet. The surface roughness simulation using CFD simulation of the MRP fluid flow and magnetic field simulation can be performed for RMREF. But a lot of areas are there where RMREF process has not been worked upon. So you can try, conduct some experiment, produce the setup in your lab. And then a hybrid finishing process combining RMREF and CMP process, just like what Dr. Prabhat Ranjan developed the process, thermomechanical magnetorheological finishing process. Similar kind of process can be developed by combining RMREF and CMP process, and you can see what is their performance, how you can improve the quality of the finished component and so on. So finally, I can conclude fine micro texturing and micro machining of both electrically conductive and non-conductive materials can be done using ECMM and ECSMM process respectively to enhance the performance and quality of different devices used in different fields. And post-processing, especially surface integrity of the micro texture and micro machine components can be done using MREF and RMREF processes, including the components with even free-form surfaces. This is very important because finishing of free-form surfaces is not that easy. To cope up in the race with the advanced countries, for that matter, any country has to spend enough money on the innovative R&D activities. I will not comment much on this, but our R&D budget of India is much, much smaller compared to other countries. Just like I can tell you, China spent 500, I think $40 billion, while India spends only $36 billion. So to be really in the forefront of the production or manufacturing, you have to enhance your R&D budget. No matter how much you spend on R&D, dedicated team of young, intelligent, honest, hard-working, and sincere researchers is needed. So this is what you can do as the audience. I think most of you are young, energetic, and you fulfill some of these characteristics. And you have to really work hard for the upliftment of this country. And micro manufacturing and additive manufacturing or green manufacturing will have an important place in future in manufacturing industry. I have not talked about additive manufacturing, but this is also known as green manufacturing, and this is the area which will have very important place in manufacturing in future, and it may replace or remove some of the traditional manufacturing processes. I don't know, say after 50 years or after 100 years, but this is going to take very important place in manufacturing. Finally, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir,
Welcome.
for giving your valuable advice and valuable thoughts. Micro
If there
machine.
is, if there
Can
is
we
any,
have, sir? Can we have some questions from the participants?
yes, that's what I am telling you. Let
Yes,
us
sir.
have the questions from the participants. Yes, tell me. Hello.
You, hello, if you can give you can write on the chat box, or you can just ask directly.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have one question.
Tell me.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good afternoon, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, this machining process of micro machining is basically, I understand from your lecture, that is very knowledge, full of the knowledge and very exciting for the society and also useful for our daily life. But the manufacturing from the micro machining process, I think it is very costly in terms of affordability of the daily users and daily life products made from the micro machining. The cost, how we can discuss or we can reduce the cost of the micro machine components.
That is what I mentioned in my lecture, that we have worked on this aspect, especially when you are using single tool writing, either using ECMM process or EDMM process. They are much cheaper than the traditional micro machining processes where you are using Liga, etc. So many other processes are there, and lot of expenses are there. That's why we are working on these processes, which I told you in the beginning, that what are the different. I will just show you the picture. While talking, I have shown to you this particular slide. Now, if you
Yes, sir.
use these processes,
Yes.
single tool, they are much cheaper than conventional processes. But lot of work has yet to be done to develop them so that micro manufacturing industry can use them directly.
Okay.
Because at present they are using different other kind of the processes where you need clean room, air conditioned room, and lot of other
Mm.
accessories are needed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
Any other question, please?
From Dr. Suresh Godupudi is asking, could you please elaborate on flexible electrode materials?
Now, I told you that free form surfaces, they cannot be defined. You cannot generate a hard electrode for that purpose. So what we did, I will show you the picture. We developed a flexible electrode over there. Now, if you see here, this is the workpiece, right? And this is the mask, and this is the flexible electrode. This is something like a sponge, You know the sponge, and if you have the metallic surface at the bottom of the sponge, then you can use it as a flexible electrode, and it will try to take the shape according to whatever you are showing there in this particular masking over there. So this is the kind of the flexible electrode Dr. Divyans Patel has used it, but there is a lot of scope. You can further work with different materials, different shapes, different arrangements also over here, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, one more question, sir.
Yeah, please. Tell
Sir,
me.
this Mr. Suman Mandal is asking, ECS MM is used for non-conductive material, but we know that ECM and EDM is used for conductive material.
Very right.
Could you please elaborate that, sir?
I have explained. I will explain it later. No problem. See, EDM is well known, electric discharge machining. It is used for electrically conducting material because there you have anode and cathode. Electrochemical machining is also well known. It is used for electrically conducting material because you have anode and cathode and electrolysis is taking place. Now the question is, during electrochemical machining when electrolysis is taking place, I showed to you that hydrogen is evolved at the cathode and oxygen is evolved at the anode, right? Now, if we place a workpiece over here and we take a very small cathode, then potential gradient will be very large and bubbles are generated at the cathode across a hydrogen bubble. I am not talking about the full covering or full layer because that is a different theory which has been proposed. But what I am talking about is the valve theory which Dr. Pulak Mohan Pandey proposed, that across the bubble, when potential, this bubble is nothing but a hydrogen gas. When high potential gradient is there, the discharge takes place. That means sparking takes place. Plasma is generated. And because of that plasma, very high heat is generated at the interface of tool and electrolyte, and very close to tool the workpiece is kept at 30 micrometer distance or 20 micrometer distance. So whatever heat is generated, that heat partly goes to the workpiece, partly it goes to the tool, partly it is convected in the electrolyte. So whatever heat is going to the workpiece, which is electrically non-conducting right now here, or it can be electrically conducting also, no matter. So that heat melts and vaporizes the workpiece material. And if you continue this, depending upon your feature requirement, you will be able to create micro features over there or macro features over there, depending upon the shape and size of the cathode. And this feature, this is not only here, bubbles are generated at the anode also, as you can see over here. And here oxygen bubbles are generated. If you change the size of this anode and make the high potential gradient across the bubble, then you can place the another workpiece over here and you can generate the spark over here and you can machine the workpiece at the anode as well. So this is how this electrochemical spark micromachining is used for electrically conducting material as well as electrically non-conducting material, because you can see here this workpiece is not part of the circuit. Circuit is completed from cathode, then electrolyte, then anode, and so on. I hope it makes clear the working principle of ECS-MM. Is it okay?
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Uh,
Any other questions?
any more questions? I think. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. Even at this age, you're giving your time.
Thank you. Welcome.
Sir, Dr. Suresh Gudipudi is asking to show slide 29. He wants to note down some data.
Okay. 29.
Yes, sir.
29 is this slide. Is it okay?
Dr. Suresh, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That is a future scope of this process. Just I want to note. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome. Welcome.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir, Professor V.K. Jain, sir, for joining us. It's great
Welcome.
to listen you again, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So should I leave?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much for inviting me and sharing my views with all of you. Okay. Now I will leave the
Yes, sir.
your conference meetings. Okay. Bye.
Thank you all for attending this lecture. We'll be having the lecture at 11:45. You all please may join for that lecture. The lecture is by Dr. Kapil Gupta. He is an associate professor from University of Johannesburg. So we'll be back at 11:45.